So now let's go on to WH questions. What are these question words or WH words? What, when, why, where, which, how much, how many? All these are called, they are actually called WH words, but some of them start with how long, how much, how often also. So we can also call them question word questions. So let's see how to make these questions. So I have given you here the question words and why we use these question words. Fine. So what is used for general information, which is used for choice, etc. So I would like you to go through this list and understand when to use what question word. Fine. Okay. So again, like we did for yes, no questions, we can make WH questions with the verb be or with other verbs. So here, when I have only the verb be, is or was, these are the different forms of the verb be as we already saw. Okay. So the structure is the same as it was for yes, no questions. I just add a question word. Okay. Where is Jay? When was the doctor's appointment? So I just add a question word to the yes, no question. And similarly, when I make questions with other verbs, I just add the question words to the questions that we had made, the yes, no questions with other verbs. I just add the question word. Okay. So the structure is very similar. I just add question words depending upon what information I need. Okay. Place, then where, time, then when. Okay. Who, for person. So like that, I make questions using question words. Okay, now let us, so as I already told you, you can form different kinds of questions depending upon what information you want. So it depends upon what information you need. Okay, so let's now practice. Let's look at how to make WH questions. So Veena is my cousin. So you need information about this underlined part. So how will I make the question for this? This is a person, so I have to put who. Okay. What is the verb here? The verb is the verb be, as I already told you. The verb be is, am, are, was, were, etc. So who is, and the subject is Veena. Okay. So this is how I make a question for this sentence. She is 25 years old. Okay. So this is the underlined part. This is the answer I want. So how old? What is the verb? Is she. Okay. She was a student last year. I want to ask a question for this. So when, what should be the next word that I put? Was, because that's the verb here. That's the only verb in these sentences. They have only the verb be. So when was she a student? So this is how I make a question for a WH question using the verb be. Okay, let's see how to make WH questions for these sentences which have other verbs live. Okay. Okay. She lives in London. So what is underlined here? London. So what should be the question word I need here? Where. Okay. I need a helping verb here. So I need does. What is the subject? She. And because I have already put the S in does, I just have to put live. Where does she live? Okay. Shall we try to make a question for this sentence? She teaches music. Okay. How should I make a question for this? Music. So what? And again, does. She teaches or teach here? Teach, because already the S is included here. What does she teach? Now let's look at the next sentence. She studied music in Germany. So what is underlined here? A place. So what will be the question word I need here? Where. And what is the tense of this studied? Past tense. So where did, after auxiliary verb, subject. What is the subject here? She. And should I put studied or study? I should put study here because the past tense is already taken care of by this word. By this word did. Okay. So this is how we make questions for WH questions to ask different kinds of information. So you have to remember, based on what information you need, you will change the WH question. Fine. For example, if this is the underlined portion, music and not Germany, how will you ask this question? What, yeah, did she study in Germany? So I ask what because the question is about music. When it is about Germany, I say where, right? So depending upon the information I need, I have to use the appropriate question word. Okay. So we have now seen yes, no questions, and we've also seen WH questions. Now look at this question. Who studied music in Germany? Okay. Now in this previous question here, WH question, I have a helping verb, does, did, etc. Right? So I use different helping verbs. For past tense, I use the helping verb did. For present tense, I use do or does. But look at this question. Who studied music in Germany? So I have question word, but no auxiliary verb. I just have only one verb here. Okay. Who studied music in Germany? Veena studied music in Germany. So such questions are called subject questions. So when we ask questions about the subject of the verb, then we just replace the subject by the question word. I think if I explain it with an example, it will be clearer. Look at this question. Who gave you the chocolates? What should be the answer to this? Bobby gave me the chocolates. So here the word who is just replaced by the answer Bobby. So this is a subject question. Now look at the other question. What did Bobby give you? So in this, I need a helping verb. What did Bobby give you? Bobby gave me the chocolates. So the subject is the word that comes before the verb. The object is the word which comes after the verb. So what did Bobby give you is an object question. Who gave you the chocolates is a subject question. So we have now seen three kinds of questions. Yes, no questions. And then we saw WH questions and we saw subject questions. So one more example here. What frightened the children? How should I make this answer for the subject question? I should just replace this question word with the answer. The dog frightened the children. So, in subject questions, the question word is directly replaced by the answer. Okay. But in object questions, the answer comes as the object of the verb, that is after the verb. Okay. So if you feel this is a lot of information, you should ideally go through this whole topic once again, look at the slides once again, and you will get much more clarity. Okay. Okay. Now let's have a small exercise here. So this is now for you to practice at home. Okay. So what are you supposed to do here? Ask WH questions to get the underlying part as the answer. So as we already saw, depending upon what information you want, you have to form different questions, right? So here the telephone is ringing. How will you make a question for this? Make a WH question. Yes. What is ringing? Okay. What kind of question is this? This is the subject, right? So what is ringing? The telephone is ringing. So this is a subject question. Okay. Let's try one more, but this is homework for you. Let's try one more question. On Thursday, Jay has cricket coaching. So how will you make a question for this? What does Jay have on Thursday? Now, if it's a place, then you will say where. If it's time, you will say when. If it is money, you will say how much. So this is homework. What I want you to do is try to frame questions to get the underlying part as the answer. And once you finish, you can check your answers with this. Okay. I hope that is clear. Okay. So now we have one more homework exercise, because WH questions are slightly more complex, because you can frame different kind of questions based on the answer you need. And only if you ask the right question will you get the required information. Okay. So I've given you one more homework exercise. I would like you to try this. In fact, you can try this with a partner. So you have one paragraph here. So one of you can be A and another paragraph here for B. Okay. So there are different pieces of information which are missing in paragraph A, and some other pieces of information which are missing in paragraph B. So you have to ask, so maybe one of you, if you find a friend or a classmate to do this activity with, you could ask each other questions. The information that is missing in paragraph A is available in paragraph B. Okay. So I'll just show you the first two blanks and then you can try it on your own. So Sam was born in Bangalore in, okay, so he was born, this is the time, right? So I need to ask a question here to get this answer. B has the answer. So A needs the information. So how will you make this question? Where was Sam? Sorry, when was Sam born? Because I need 1991 as the answer. So when was Sam born? Now similarly, let's look at this paragraph B. Sam was born in dash in 1991. Okay, so what do I need here? I need the name of a place. So how should I make the question? Where was Sam born? So in the same way, you have to make questions to get the answers from the other person or from the other paragraph. So once you do this activity with a friend or with a classmate, you can check your answers here from the next slide. Okay. So all these are part of your homework. If you have any questions about your homework, you can always send us a message. One more last bit of homework. So you have now learned yes, no questions. You have learned WH questions also. We had a brief look at subject questions, right? Okay. So let's take one topic, eating habits. How will you make questions of your own? So I have given you some clues here. Wherever there are missing words, I've put a dash. Okay. So you will actually make questions. For example, I'll just show you for this one. Do you eat out often? This is a yes, no question. Okay. So it can be, do you eat out often? Okay. So this is the second question. Eat out recently. So you have to make another question here. Did you eat out recently? Okay. So in the same way, you yourself, with whatever we have learned so far, you can make yes, no questions or WH questions based on these clues here. So wherever there are missing words, I've given you a dash here. Okay. This is actually the first question and this is the second question, the third question, the fourth question, and so on and so forth. Okay. So try out these. You can also practice making questions for common topics like my hometown, my hobbies, my workplace, or traveling. It could be anything, any everyday topics that we need to usually ask people questions about. So you could practice making questions on these routine topics that will help you to improve your fluency and questioning skills. Okay. So now we have seen yes, no questions. We've seen WH questions. We've also seen subject questions. Okay. That was interesting. I hope. You didn't find the topic too difficult. You can now make simple questions easily. Okay, but are these sentences questions? No, they don't look like questions. But how do I make them into a question? I just add a small question bit. I call that a question tag. So now this become a question. That was interesting, wasn't it? I hope so. You didn't find the topic too difficult, did you? You can now make simple questions easily, can't you? So now these sentences followed by these tags are called, have become questions. They are called question tags. These are called question tags, okay? So this part is actually a sentence. That's a statement. I should call it a statement. And this is the question tag. Now, when people make question tags, they have, they make a common mistake. What they do is they say, that was interesting, isn't it? You didn't find the topic too difficult, isn't it? You can now make simple questions easily, isn't it? Now, you can't add isn't it to every sentence. You have to make the tag, you have to make a tag which suits the statement here. Only then it becomes a proper question. Okay. So this is a common mistake that people make. They add isn't it when they want to make the sentence into a question. So now let's see what is the right way to use question tags to make questions. Okay. So there are some rules. When the statement is positive, the tag should be negative. And when the statement is negative, the tag should be positive. You always need to follow this rule. Okay. That was easy, wasn't it? Okay. Today is Saturday, isn't it? You don't want any coffee. So this is a negative statement. So how should the tag be? Do you? You don't want, do you? She wasn't absent. So what should the tag be? The positive form of this verb. Was she? So for positive statement, I have to add a negative tag. For a negative statement, I have to add a positive tag. So you cannot make a question tag question like this. You don't want any coffee, don't you? No, that is usually not correct. Okay. So usually a positive statement, negative statement, positive tag. This is rule number 1. Okay. The next rule is if there is a helping verb in the statement, we use that helping verb to form the question tag. So let's look at this example. Sachin is working on that. So this is the main verb. This is the auxiliary or helping verb. Isn't he? So I can't use this verb to make the tag. I will use the helping verb to make the tag. Let's try the next one. Your mother didn't call you yesterday. Which is the main verb here? Call. Which is the helping verb here? So, sorry, the negative verb or helping verb here, didn't. So I should use this verb, auxiliary and helping are the same. I should use this helping verb or auxiliary verb to make the tag. Your mother didn't call you yesterday, did she? So whenever we have a helping verb or auxiliary verb, we use that to form the question tag. Now, when we have sentences in present simple, past simple, positive sentences like this, Sushma loves pizza. So there is no helping verb here. Okay. So if there is no auxiliary verb, we have to add auxiliary verb. So Sushma loves pizza. Sushma is she. I have to add doesn't. Okay. For he, she, and it subjects, I add doesn't. Okay. You understand what I mean. Not doesn't you. It should be don't you. Okay. He warned you about that. So this is in the past tense. So I have to put didn't he. So based on whether it is simple present or simple past, for positive sentences, we have to add auxiliary. We have to add these auxiliary verbs in the tag because it is not already present here. Okay. So there are 3 rules we saw now. So one is positive statement, negative tag. Negative statement, positive tag. The second rule was if there is an auxiliary verb, we have to use that auxiliary verb. That's very easy. And when there is no auxiliary verb, there are 2 possibilities. It can be simple present or simple past. And it is usually a positive statement. See, Sushma loves pizza. It's a positive statement. If Sushma doesn't like pizza, then what will be the tag? Does she? So the tag will always be opposite to the statement. So for negative statements, we already have a helping verb. Sushma doesn't like pizza. The word doesn't is already there. So does she will be the tag. But for positive statements in the simple present or simple past, we don't have any helping verb. So we have to add these helping verbs, okay, to make the question tag. So we have seen 3 rules to make question tag questions. Question tags questions sound nice and they are also confirmation questions. So we make a statement. Sushma loves pizza. I already make a statement and then I confirm it, doesn't she? So these are also called confirmation questions. So now we have seen 4 kinds of questions. Yes, no questions. Then we saw WH questions. Then we saw, what was the third kind of question we saw? We saw subject questions, and then we saw question tags or confirmation questions. Okay. So we are now coming to indirect questions. Okay. I would like to know if this session has been useful. Okay. Is this a question? Well, it doesn't look like a question, but I need an answer from you. I'm expecting an answer, right? So I expect a yes or a no. So this is a question. Okay. On the other hand, I can make a direct question. Has this session been useful? So you will say yes, or you will say, okay, moderately so, or you'll say it's been okay. So you will answer this. This is a direct question. So here I am adding these. I would like to know to this direct question. Has this session been useful? Is the direct question. I'm adding some words to make the question indirect. Okay. So now, why should I use indirect questions? Well, they are more polite. Okay, and they are commonly used in, say, formal conversations. So instead of asking, what's your name or who are you, it is more polite to say, I would like to know who you are. So it's usually used to make conversations more polite, especially when we interact with strangers or in formal situations. So, how do you make an indirect question? We usually add the words, phrases, for example, can you tell me? Do you know? I wonder if. I would like to know. So I can add these, and there are many other such phrases that you can add to a direct question to make an indirect question. So some of them, even when you make them indirect, they still are questions. So in that case, I have to put a question mark. But sometimes it looks like a statement. I wonder if she likes coffee. So this doesn't sound like a question, but you expect a response. So it is a question which doesn't have a question mark. But all of these are called indirect questions. Now let's see an example. Who are you? This is a direct question. Okay. So these are all the introductory phrases that I can add to a direct question to make them indirect. Fine. Okay. So now, how do I make it into an indirect question? Okay, I want to add this. Can you tell me? And then do I just add who are you? No. Can you tell me who are you is not correct. This is again a common error that people make. Okay, so I cannot just add the introductory phrases to the direct question. I have to modify the direct question slightly to make it into an indirect question. Okay, so let us see how this is done. So there are three rules you need to remember. Let's look at this direct question. What's he doing? Okay, I want to add the words do you know? But I can't just say, do you know what is he doing? That is not correct. The order here in this indirect question, the order changes. This becomes statement order. See, look at the statement here. He is working in Mumbai. He is. So that is the order in the indirect question. In a question, it is he? So the order becomes re-inverted. Okay. Similarly, shall we try one more? Where have they gone? Okay. What is the answer to this question? They have gone to OT. So if you look at the indirect question, I'm adding I wonder where. I can't put have they gone. I have to put they have gone. Why? Because indirect question follows the sentence statement order of subject and verb, not question order of subject and verb. So the word order in an indirect question is the same as it is in a statement. So who is this? Can you tell me who this is? Why should I say who this is? Because that is the statement order. This is Julie. Fine. So the order of subject and verb will be the same as a statement in an indirect question. This is different from the order in a direct question. Okay, so when will you come? How will I make the indirect question for that? Okay, I would like to know. So how should I make this question now? When you will come. So this gets interchanged because the statement order will be you will come tomorrow. So the statement order is subject plus verb. Whereas here it is question word plus verb plus subject. This is helping verb plus subject. Fine. Okay. Now let's look at the next one. Where do you live? What is the indirect question? I would like to know where you live. Okay, so what happened to this do? Okay, let's look at the next question. How did he go? How do you make it into an indirect question? I would like to know how he went. So why do these two questions look so different? Okay, that's because the first rule that we needed to remember was the word order is statement order, not question order. The second rule we need to remember is we have to omit these words do, does, and did in the indirect question. So if I have a question, what do you want? How will I make the indirect question? I can add any introductory phrase, the ones we saw previously. So can you tell me what you want? I should not use this helping verb here. Okay. So do, does, and did are omitted in indirect questions. When did she leave? How will you make the indirect question? Do you know when she left? Because she left at 10 o'clock. That is the statement order. Okay. So in the indirect question, we omit these words do, does, and did. Okay. So that is rule number 2. The first rule was the order is the same as a positive statement. The rule number 2 is if you have do, does, and did, you have to omit them. Now, what is the third rule? See, these are WH questions, right? What do you want? When did she leave? What if you have yes, no questions? Did you see my dog? To convert this into an indirect question, I have to add this introductory phrase. Could you tell me? Then I have to add these words if for whether. So could you tell me if you saw my dog? Why? Because this is the statement order. I saw your dog near Vena's house. Okay. So that is the order in a statement. So you saw my dog will come there. You will add a word if for whether when you have a yes no question. Let's try some examples. Do you like sweets? This is a yes no question. So usually you say yes I do or no I don't. How do I make this into an indirect question? I would like to know. I told you, you have to add if for whether. I would like to know whether you like sweets. Okay. Are you comfortable? How will you make this into a yes no question? I would like to know if you are comfortable. So I add these words and of course I change the subject and verb position here. So here when it's a do, because you have this word do, you remove this word and then you retain the rest of the words. So the three rules are, what are the three rules here? The word order is the same as a positive statement, and then you eliminate or remove or omit do, does, and did. And the third rule is when you have yes, no questions, we use if for whether. Fine? Okay. So we have now come to the end of our introductory session on question words and questioning skills. Okay. So did you enjoy the session? I hope you did. What did you like about the session? I would like to know that. This topic was interesting, wasn't it? I'd like to know if you have any questions. Okay, so here I've asked you actually 4 questions, though this doesn't really look like a question. It requires a response. Therefore, I'm calling it a kind of question, an indirect question. So did you enjoy the session? What kind of question is that? So this is a yes, no question. What did you like about the session? What kind of question is this? This is a yes, a WH question. This topic was interesting, wasn't it? What kind of question is this? This is a question tag question. I would like to know if you have any questions. What kind of question is this? This is an indirect question. Okay, so actually now we have come to the end of our brief session on questioning skills. Okay, so thank you all very much. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to post them in the box. Thank you very much.
All right, that was really an informative presentation, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, let's move on to our Q&A session. Okay. Let's get going then. I can see a couple of questions on our Q&A box and a few from on our chat. So let's pick up one by one. All right. Let me know, ma'am, if you would want to answer these questions. All right. In case you don't want to address it, it's fine. We can, move on to the next question. All right.
Okay, so if questions are easy to answer in this brief session, I would like to answer them. If they require detailed answers, we can always post the answers or continue it in further sessions. That's what I think.
All right, that's great. So, ma'am, our first question comes from one of our attendees named Pritam Das. Okay, his question is: are there any other question types apart from the ones mentioned?
I suppose there are different question types which I have not covered. This is not an exhaustive session on questioning skills. This is just an introductory session. So there could be, for example, choice questions like, do you like tea or coffee? I have not included those things in our brief session, and probably they could. Go deeper into this topic. So this is not an exhaustive list of questioning question types. The point is, we are not here to just learn what are these question types. We are here to use this content in our everyday language, in our everyday speech. So yes, there are more question types, and probably you could find much more information about these question types also when you delve deeper into this topic. I hope that has answered your question.
All right, that's great, ma'am. I hope you are happy with the answers given by our speaker, Pritam Das. So, moving on to the next questions, we have from Moon Saha. The
Mhm.
question is: what are the differences between yes no questions and question tags?
Okay. So, a yes no question would be, do you like sweets? Okay. So, what will you answer? You will say yes or no, right? So, you're waiting for the answer. How would you ask the same question as a question tag? You like sweets, don't you? So, I'm assuming something and I'm expecting confirmation from the uh, the person who's opposite to me, the person to whom I'm asking the question. So that is the actual difference. So here I'm already making an assumption. You like sweets, don't you? So I'm just confirming it. So actually, the final effect would be the same. In the second case, you already assume something and confirm it. That's why we also call them confirmation questions.
All right, ma'am. Thank you for the answers. And we have another questions from one of our YouTube viewers. Okay, the question is, where can we get more practice for questioning? And is asked by Ave.
Sorry.
The question is, where can we get more practice for questioning?
I can share a few links later after the session is over where you can practice questioning skills. In fact, it's a good thing that you asked me this question. Just attending a short seminar on questioning skills is not enough to master questions. This is just to give you a glimpse of the kinds of questions there are. It definitely requires practice to ask grammatically perfect questions. Now, why are grammatically perfect questions important? Because if I make a mistake in the question, then I won't get the answer that I need, right? So that is the reason why my question has to be clear and grammatically correct in order for me to elicit the required information. So I think practice is what makes you ask perfect questions and get the information that you are looking for. So definitely, this is just an introductory session, and I can share some links where you can practice these. Plus, you also need to practice in real life. Whatever you learn from whatever websites you learn or books you learn, you'll have to practice it by speaking, by asking people questions.
All right, Abe, I hope you, ma'am, answered your questions. So we have queries from one of our attendees named Nahid Fatima. Nahid Fatima would want to have a couple of practice, uh, you know, uh, books. So yes, definitely, Fatima, we will get back to you with the practice link. Okay, we will share with you for you to practice and improve your spoken English. So these are the three questions, ma'am, we received from our viewers and attendees. With this note, I would like to wrap up our today's sessions. Before I sign off, I would like to inform all our attendees that this session has been recorded and it will be on our YouTube channel in case you want access to the recording one more time. Also, if you want to connect with our speaker, you can book a free demo class by clicking the link on a description box. Okay. So before I take a leave, I would like to thank our speaker and all our attendees and YouTube viewers for being a wonderful audience. And to get regular updates on interactive live webinar and informative lessons video, do subscribe our YouTube channel as we will live on every Tuesday 6 p.m. With our spoken English experts. So stay tuned, everyone. Thanks for joining once again. Thank you, ma'am, once again.
Thank you so much, Livia, and thank you all of you who have attended this session. Looking forward to seeing you all in many